Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of DFS Straight Talk. I am your host, JBlaze39, coming at you week 15. We're getting down to the middle of the season-long playoffs here. It's you're either this week is either going to make it go to the championship week, or it's going to send you, well, maybe out of money. So, depending on how you fare this week. So this week's pretty important. We got some good matchups this week. Some really good matchups. I mean, there's some matchups that some of these division games that are their second time they've seen each other. So that is something to consider when you're choosing your lineups, because the second matchup in a rivalry interdivision game tend to play a little slower and lower scoring. So it's what we do here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each matchup, and I'm gonna take who I like, who I don't like. We'll tell you why. I'm gonna give you a little strategy, things to consider. And then at the end, I'll be giving my my top 5 or 6 at each position. And if you've been following along all this year, it's been doing really well. So, and before I begin, if you're hearing this podcast, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating if you don't mind. I'd appreciate it. Give me the thumbs up on the live video feeds, because this show is being presented both video and audio. So depending on where you're getting this from, you can get the live feed, and I got the descriptions at the bottom. Otherwise, you can search for DFS Straight Talk on YouTube. And I think it'll be available there. It'll be available on my Facebook page, DFS Straight Talk Facebook page. So, and then also for the audio, it'll be available on Patreon. It'll be available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, in a variety of different outlets. So also you can find it on Podbean, as well. So there's many different options. Now, if you want a list of my full complement of my player pool at each position, head on over to my Patreon page. That's where it'll be listed. Go ahead and sign up to have access to that. And I tell you what, that's been gold this year. So go ahead and go to patreon.com/DFS Straight Talk. And there's some other things on there that I offer. Maybe some Q&A and one-on-one session available on there. Also, what I have on there is going to be some contest selection. I'll go over some contest selection with you. Some tips, and because that contest selection is huge on DFS. I mean, that can make or break you. So that's just something that is a lot of people forget about. So they just try to get the home run. They try to hit enter the big money tournament. That's a good way to go broke. There's money to be made in some of these smaller contests, some of these single entry and three max contest. That's where the money is consistently in cash games too. So your double ups and triple ups and quadruple ups and stuff like that. Quadruple ups are more like GPPs. So without further ado, so we got all that going on. Let's get into the matchups this week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the main slate, and then towards the end, if there's enough time, I'll kind of touch on the Saturday 2-game slate here. So I usually just do the main slate each week. So because it's that's where the edge is. If for these small slates like the 2 games and the single games, it's such a crapshoot. So I try to avoid those. You can make some money on there, but you're sharing a lot of the prize pool with that. So so let's go into the first matchup here. What do we got here? We got the overall slate here. We got Tampa Bay, Atlanta, which is a game I do like a good bit. Now, looking at this slate, I usually choose about 4 or 5 games that I kind of want to focus on. Those 4 or 5 games this week are going to be Indy, Houston, Tampa, and Atlanta, Kansas City, and New Orleans, and then probably the Philadelphia, Arizona game, just because it's there's a lot of unknown there, and so those are the games I'm gonna focus on, and there's other pieces to go through. Now, when I start my research, what I do is I look at the overall slate. How do I want to build my lineups? Depending on how many lineups I want to build. If I'm just building one, I just try to build, focus on a couple of games and just let it rock. But if I'm building, 20 plus lineups, I might take some game stacks, take each game, figure out who the viable pieces are, build it, and then mix and match to get your 20 to and put it into like an optimizer or something, and set up your percentages of each, but keep those core people together, and run those. If some people like to play the 150 lineups, more power to you. It's so random. I don't like playing that well that way. So I just don't subscribe to that type of approach. So all right, so let's get into it here. We got Atlanta, Tampa Bay. I really like Tom Brady this week. He's one of my favorites. He will be in my list this week. And then as far as running backs, I'm not choosing a whole lot here Fournette, maybe. Atlanta's been tougher on the running backs lately. So I'm more apt to go with the passing game of these two teams. Gurley, maybe if you need him in a pinch, but he's so darn cheap at 4,700 on DraftKings. That's a steal. Even Fournette at 4,500. That's a steal as well. So it doesn't look like Ronald Jones is going to play. Got COVID apparently. So if he's cleared by Sunday, yeah, I can see myself having some interest there. But that's something to be considered, he is coming off of he's been a little dinged up with his finger, so for a running back, that's not the greatest thing. So, we'll move on here. We got wide receivers. Now, what are we going to do here? I like Mike Evans a good bit this week, and I do like Godwin. I almost like Godwin better this week. As far as for the Falcons, Ridley, he's kind of top dog there now. So, I don't see Julio Jones playing this week. So, you could make a case for Scotty Miller in GPPs to pair with Tom Brady, and then bring it back with Calvin Ridley. I can see that working. Because you're hoping for that home run. And Scotty Miller's only 3,200. They do throw deep to him once in a while. So if you get that home run ball, that could pay off. So, Russell Gage, maybe. I think there's other options that are better. Antonio Brown, no, I don't really have a whole lot of interest there. So, and then tight ends, I could see Gronkowski doing some things this week. Hayden Hurst, he only had 3 targets last week. No. Let's move on here. Now, you could choose the defense on either side. I would take, Tampa Bay, obviously. They're cheap, 3,000. So that's definitely in play. So now in this game, we got Seattle, Washington. It sounds like a town. Seattle and Washington. We got Russell Wilson, who is always in play, but they're going to see. It's a West Coast team going to the East Coast in a noon start. I don't like playing that. Can he pay off his salary? Yeah, he can. At 7,300, he's going to need to get you about 32 points. Can he do it? Yeah, you can. Now, who's going to start on the other side? It's a toss-up between Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins. I'm not crazy about either one of them, but you could make a case for either one in GPPs. But that's only if you're game stacking. As a dart, type of yo-yo, lineup, YOLO lineup. As far as for running backs, Antonio Gibson, he missed last week. He missed practice on Thursday. The coaches are saying he's making progress. What does that mean? I don't put a whole lot of stock in coaches speak, I guess. But if he plays, I like him. I like McKissick, but his price has come up, 5,700. I liked it better when it was down below, around at 4,500. Now on the other side, Carson, he's got kind of a tough matchup with, and who knows? I mean, he practiced. I'm not a huge fan of this game as a whole. No. It's a toss up. I mean, it's there could be pieces of this game that go off. Which ones? I mean, you're kind of throwing darts here. Metcalf, 8,600. That's a steep price, right? But you're gonna want to have some Metcalf and Russell shares just in case they go off. Washington and Seattle both. When the matchups have looked kind of wishy-washy, they tend to some of the games you don't really expect them to be shootouts. They turn out to be some of the best games in the year, or of that week, I should say. So I could see a scenario where this game turns into a bit of a shootout. This game could also be a snoozer. Don't know. I mean, like I said, when you're building your lineups, you take the pieces that you like from each game, and you make combinations, of like 3 games. So when you make a game stack from the first, like the first couple of games, you can't just have your whole lineup being the early games, unless you're playing that slate. You're going to want to have coverage for that late game. A lot of people forget that. You got to have at least 2-3 pieces of for that late game. That's how you win the GPP. You got to have coverage for that late game. I'm a big believer in having coverage in your basically the hammer game. It's I think it's very important. Now if you are going to game stack this, go Russell Wilson, McLaren, and Metcalf or Lockett. And then, or you could go with just you could make a case for the other way and play Seattle's or Washington's defense because Seattle can throw up a dud once in a while. So the 2,600, yeah, I can see that. All right, let's move on here. We got Chicago, Minnesota. Second game of this division game. I'm not a huge fan here. I'm not. The only piece I might be playing is the running backs, Delvin Cook or Montgomery. I'm a little hesitant on Montgomery, but he's getting the workload, and he will get some ownership. But the other side, Allen Robinson is kind of a stud. He's like the he's the alpha dog there. He's going to get your targets. You could make a case for Trubisky and Allen Robinson and play a little catch-up mode. And then, you bring it back with Delvin Cook. Or you could bring it back with Irv Smith. Cole Kmet is coming on. I can see that case being made of Allen Robinson and Cole Kmet. Come back with Delvin Cook. You don't necessarily need the quarterbacks here, but these are options that you could, pick and choose who you want. I don't see a game stack here being in the winning lineup in GPPs. Now, moving on, we got Indy and Houston. What I'm seeing here is Deshaun Watson. He's one of my favorites this week. He tends to play well against Indy. Jonathan Taylor has got a very good matchup. And Nakeem Hines, yeah, you could play him, but they're all active. But I like Taylor the most. So then wide receivers. I like QT again this week. I like Pittman a good bit. I also like T.Y. Hilton. He's kind of coming back on. Zach Pascal, maybe. But it's Brandon Cooks. I don't think so. I don't think. I like QT better here. So then tight ends. Atkins is in play. So is Trey Burton. They're super cheap, $2,900. Okay. Nothing special. You're just looking for a touchdown. So, next game. We got Detroit, Tennessee. I do like Tannehill, and there's going to be a lot of ownership on Derrick Henry this week. He's priced up tremendously at 9,500. Now, in cash, you just go ahead and play them. Just play them. GPPs, you can make a case for fading them. Not completely, but be underweight on them. Now, if he explodes, those lineups that have him are going to do well. But you're kind of hoping for that home run. He's going to have to get you at least 35 points. Can he do it? Yeah, he can. And, Detroit's kind of given up a little bit. They're, the odds are in Tennessee's favor, big time. I don't mind Swift as the pass catching back here. In fact, he could be. I mean, he's 6,400 though. He is active. The jury's still out if Matt Stafford's going to play. It's leaning towards no. It's kind of a lost year, and he's dealing with some painful ribs. So I would say he's going to sit out. So that puts Chase Daniels in play. For Chase Daniels to go against Tennessee, if Stafford's out, Chase Daniel at 5,000, he could do some things. This is one of those matchups where people are going to be overlooking this game. Don't overlook this game. This game could be sneaky good. It could also be a snoozer, just like the Seattle game. Don't know which team you're going to get to show up. So you build lineups accordingly. And so that's when you're putting together these lineups, people try to get too cute. Stick with what you know. You build lineups that you build your base floor. In cash games, they recommend you want to build for 150 points. Well, that's great. I build my cash lineups to get to be around that 175 to 180 because I want that upside. I don't want to be just sitting right on the edge. So, because then what I do, I'll build it like that, and then I'm going to be putting those in single entry contests as well, just in case. You never know. I build kind of a hybrid lineup, and I don't stick to the normal safe cash approach. Everybody does that. So then when you get in these multi-entry cash games, and you got these people that throw the same lineup in 50 different spaces, you got to jump over that amount of people anyway. So it turns into a GPP contest for you. You don't want to be just right on the edge. You want to be in a safe spot. But so I'm not going to play just your the normal safe, what everybody says is cash safe. For the most part, I will. But then I'm going to take one or two guys that have a good floor, but they can, they can, they're a little riskier. Okay. And I do that for the upside because if they just get their floor and everybody else does what they're supposed to do, you're still cashing. But if you get, the upside from your two guys, you're cashing for your cash games. Plus, you're probably winning a single entry GPP. So why not? Why not maximize your potential? That's the way I approach it. And nobody's been able to tell me otherwise on to differentiate from that. That's the way I approach my lineup building. And I'm always building single entry or three max. I'm not building for the milli maker. And yeah, if you want to play that, fine, go ahead, toss one in. Just know you're probably not going to win. The odds of winning one of those are pretty slim. It's like winning the lottery. But you can win a bunch of those other ones and have a pretty good payday. So just something to consider. All right. So there's a little rant there. All right. So let's move on. Jacksonville, Baltimore. I do like Lamar quite a bit. He's expensive. And if Jacksonville can keep up, he will pay off that salary. Minshew is looking at, he's getting the start again. He's regained his starting spot, but that's a tough matchup going against that Baltimore defense in Baltimore. I don't like my chances there. I like Baltimore's defense here. And if I'm going to pick somebody to go with Lamar, one thing, you can make a case for either Ingram or Dobbins. I have a sneaking feeling this could be an Ingram game. Just a hunch. So, just, that could be a sneaky play. Just throwing it out there. Not for cash, but for your GPPs. On wide receivers, looks like Hollywood Brown's out. Well, the jury's still out there. He might be. He hasn't tested positive for COVID, but apparently he was exposed to someone that had it. So, if he tests negative, he could play. Which you could make a case to play him. I don't usually like to play a whole lot of Ravens receivers other than Mark Andrews. So That's just like another like another wide receiver. And well, Tyler Eifert, he could see with Minshew back. I'm kind of hesitant to go with the tight ends there. You could make a case for going with DJ Chark. And maybe Chenault if you need to. He's only 3,800. All right, let's move on. Let's go with Miami, New England. What do we got here? We got Tua and Cam Newton. I'm a bigger fan of Tua these days than I am with Cam Newton. I don't know which Cam Newton I'm going to get. Now, the first time these two teams played, Cam had a couple of touchdowns and 25 points. 25 points at 5,500. That's a good week. Tua's at 5,700. He's coming off a career game. Can he sustain that? Maybe. I tend to think that this is going to be more of a defensive battle. I think both defenses here, and DeAndre Washington, kind of underwhelmed last week. So there'd be a lot of people off of him. Now Gaskin, he's already ruled. Wait, no, that's old news here. He might be back. Why do they need to update their notes on here? Oof. Wow. If he plays, I do like Gaskin. Now, Ahmed is listed as questionable. He was a limited participant. I'm thinking that they're going to ease him back. He's missed the last 3 games with a shoulder injury. If he's active, I have a good interest in him because you can run the ball on New England. Now, wide receivers. Maybe Bird. Maybe Jakeem Grant. Larry Bolden is someone that could do a couple things here. Or Lynn Bolden. I'm sorry, Lynn Bolden. He did have 9 targets last week. Mac Hollins had a bunch of targets too. They're both really cheap. Now, some of that is a result of Parker leaving early. And Grant getting hurt as well. So Parker's dealing with a hamstring issue. I'd be hard pressed to think that he's going to play this week. And if he does, he's not going to be very active. So, all right. So what do we got here? We got Myers, maybe. I don't like playing anybody against Miami's. Miami's defense is legit. I've been impressed with their defense. But the one guy I do like to pair Tua with is Gesicki. The guy is just producing. So that could be that's going to be one of my favorite combinations this week. You could take Gesicki by himself as well, but you got to pay up for him. He's $4,800 now. It's a little stiff, but All right, so let's move on. We got Dallas, San Francisco. I'm not a fan of either game here. Elliott let down a lot of people last week. His price has come down quite a bit. And Elliott, he's sharing the ball. I mean, Jeff Wilson is where I'm going to go here for San Francisco. I like him a good bit. I like Mozart, I think, is out. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Yeah, I don't think I want to touch that. Tony Pollard, yeah, maybe. But the guy I want here is Jeff Wilson. On the other side for wide receivers, you can make a case for Ayuk. And I guess Cooper at 6,400. CD Lamb, he kind of let down some people last week, but he's only 4,500. I don't mind that. That's about it there. Tight ends. Jordan Reed, Schultz. They're both just guys. If you need them, you can plug them in. I'm not building around them by any means. Dallas defense is an interesting option this week. Mainly because they were pretty chalky last week and they paid off. But they're cheap this week, $2,700. And the fact that Nick Mullins has turned the ball over a good bit. In his last few games, he's got 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Yeah, that's some potential points there. So Cash games, I'd go with Dallas. Yeah. Next game, Rams, Jets. Cam Akers is my guy here. And I'm not. I could go with Jared. I could see a scenario where Jared Goff, does some things here. Everybody expects Akers to do well because of the matchup. What if you did Goff and pair him with Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods instead to play both sides of that? Because Akers, I think, is going to be popular this week. They say that, and all of a sudden, who knows? I mean, it could end up with Henderson. We don't know what the coaching staff is going to do there in St. Louis. St. Louis at the Rams, the LA Rams. As far as anything else, the Rams defense, you could make a case for the Jets defense if you're paying down. For 2,100, you just need a handful of points from them, and then you can jam everybody else that you want in your lineup. So that could be an avenue. All right, let's move on here. We got Eagles, Cardinals. I don't mind either defense here. I do like Jalen Hurts. He gives a different element here. Kyler Murray the guy's just a stud. I think he's gonna light it up this week. I'm gonna pair him with Hopkins. Come back with either Miles Sanders or Alshon Jeffrey's back. Wow. He only had one target last week. Huh. But I tell you, it's 3,400. Keep an eye on that. I like that. They got a couple of rookies, Rager and Fogham. Fogham's kind of the guy there now. But Alshon Jeffrey, I don't know. He could play. I mean, he's got that upside. So just keep that in mind. It's 3,400. Yes, please. Last game on the docket: Kansas City and New Orleans. I will be building a lot of lines with these two quarterbacks, Mahomes and Taysom Hill. A lot of combinations here. You could go there. You could go Kamara and Tyreek. Michael Thomas. Watkins spikes once in a while. So you could play him. Kelsey's the one I want. But he's expensive as hell. He's 8,000. He's like a wide receiver. Jared Cook could be interesting. So I like both of these. So I'm gonna I'll be stacking this game quite a bit. Yeah, you eat up a lot of salary, but there's a lot of value out there. So now I talked that that's about all I got for that game. Now I talked a little bit about strategy on these, for contest selection. All right, so let's move into just a brief. Actually, I'm going to give you my top 5 each position first, and then I will go into the Saturday matchup. Just briefly. Now, my top 5 for quarterbacks this week are going to be Tom Brady, Taysom Hill, Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, and let's go with Tua here. And then for running backs, I'm looking at Henry, Dalvin Cook. I like Kamara quite a bit this week. Kamara's a good pivot off of Henry in GPPs. Miles Sanders. Cam Akers. Jeff Wilson. And with an honorable mention of honorable mention goes to going to be Montgomery. And Swift. So, wide receivers, okay. Tyreek's my number 1 guy. Followed by Hopkins, Robinson. That's Allen Robinson. And then I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. I'm going to go with it with Alshon Jeffries down there, 3,400. Honorable mention, you can go Perriman, and QT, and let's go Mike Evans. And tight ends, I got Kelsey, Andrews, Gesicki, Irv Smith, and Cole Kmet. Honorable mention to yeah, I don't like any of them. Maybe Gronkowski. Defense. Rams are my number one defense. Dolphins. Washington football team. I don't even mind the Jets or Dallas. So that covers the whole the matchups here. All right, so let's get into. I'm just going to spend a minute or two on the Saturday games. We got Buffalo, which anytime Buffalo's on the docket, I love Josh Allen. So I think he's just an awesome player. So now you got the two games are Carolina and Green Bay, Buffalo and Denver. Okay. Drew Luck looked pretty good last week. Was that a fluke? Who knows? If you're just playing this slate, why not take a lineup with Drew Luck? And then pair him with Tim Patrick or Noah Fant. And then, maybe come back with a Stephon Diggs. And then make sure you got Dante Adams, Devontae Adams. He's just a stud. He's especially in cash. You just got to play him. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are in play. As far as anybody else for Denver wide receivers, I don't really have anybody yet. KJ Hamler, maybe. He kind of came on last week. Now, Robert Tonyan, he's in play. Like I said, Noah Fant is. Buffalo's pretty tough against tight end, so be careful with that. Running backs. We know McCaffrey's out. Aaron Jones is definitely in play here. So is Mike Davis. So is Zach Moss. That's as far as you could do Aaron Rodgers and a couple stacks with him. So, but that's as far as it goes. So that that's a little overview of the Saturday game. Just play lightly there and enjoy it. So that about does it for this week's podcast and live stream here. So remember to hit me up on hit the like, smash that like button. Hit me up on give a rating for it helps the show. It helps move it up. So let's get the show going. I love doing this, and I just want to help people, succeed playing fantasy football. It's just, something I love doing, and I love to be able to hear your stories. So send me an email at dfsstraighttalk@gmail.com. Hit me up on Twitter at jblaze39, and I'll have all the links at the bottom of the description here. And let me know. Hit me up on my Twitter page or on my Patreon page to get that full list of my player pool. So become a subscriber. You can become a patron on the audio on Podbean. It helps support the show. If this show is helping you, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So without just let's go win some money, boys. That's all I got for this week. And good luck in your season long. And so let's go. It's go time. So let's go win some money. I'm out.